So I do want to ask, what are some of like the favorite projects you've done over the years?
That's a good question. I mean, I'll tell you. First of all, like it's always the last thing I did is the favorite. The
Right.
youngest child is the cutest. And probably if you asked me this question tomorrow or next week, you'd get different answers. I would say Eli Stone was the first show I co-created, first time I show ran. That show had a lot of hope and inspiration and just a message that I think, we could really use right now. My daughter was watching, my 12-year-old daughter was watching in quarantine, so I had a chance to revisit it recently, and I'm like, oh, this was a really good show. Love, my time writing Spiderman, was absolutely a career highlight. Certainly Arrow, that's had such a huge part of my life. Troll Hunters, that, has been a part of my life for as long as Arrow has, actually. I started working on Troll Hunters during the first season of Arrow. But every project, I have to say, like, has its, things about it I remember fondly. Sometimes it's just a small moment, or the fact we were able to do something I never thought we'd be able to do, or down to a clever line of dialogue. At the same time, there's not a single project of mine that I wouldn't like another at bat on. Everything I've ever worked on, I've got regrets about, and I think that that's true for every writer. So it's a weird thing. It's funny. I tend not to think about my own work. Like, usually I do something, it comes out or it doesn't, and I move on. I'm on to the next project, and I don't spend a lot of time kind of looking backwards. And then there's also, there's the project, and then there's the experience. And sometimes they're equal. Like sometimes, hey, it's a great project and it was a great experience. But like, there was a year when we were developing Eli Stone, and we were casting it sort of in a very long pre-production. I spent a year as a consulting producer on Brothers and Sisters. And then this is not to take anything away from the show. I absolutely love the show, but I just had the best experience. Like it was so much fun. It was just like where everything sort of came together, and the show was ahead, and everything was just magical, and it was like, I look back on that year of working on Eli and working on Brothers and Sisters. I'm like, oh, that was like one of my favorite years of my career.
That's cool.